welcome to another episode of Leadership and Role Models. I'm Leo Hira. In this series, we offer the insights of distinguished leaders to young, aspiring leaders looking to role models as their source for emulation, which means being driven by a passion to achieve and exceed the leadership accomplishments of their role models. And in order to do that, one has to understand the leadership principles of that role model. In this episode, we focus on Chesty Puller. Chesty is a go-to leader in this area, as he is the most decorated Marine in our country's history. But moreover, keep in mind that every award which he credited to his men was based on demonstrated valor in leading his team in battle. So, what is leadership? Well, let's listen to Chesty's viewpoint.
In battle, what is leadership? Leadership means commanding and fighting in the front lines with your Marines. When you don't, your Marines will pay a heavy price. When I led from the front, we were successful. When I couldn't, which happened in Peleliu during World War II, where injuries hampered my mobility, I couldn't move around, be in the front. My Marines took so many casualties, my battalion had to be withdrawn from the front. Demand the same from your Marines. They must lead from the front. That is the way success is achieved. Some will become casualties, but they and fellow Marines will fight like demons.
The island in question was Peleliu, and to cut to the chase, based on a post-battle conversation between Chesty and MacArthur, Peleliu was a diversion, overly costly in casualties, and at best unnecessary and retrospectively a downright mistake. So much for island hopping and avoiding unnecessary casualties. Top commanders, including MacArthur, failed to realize the Japanese had changed tactics from previous islands they defended. At Peleliu, they built a cave system impervious to aerial and seaborne bombardment and outfitted to murderously rake an amphibious landing force. Chesty's mission was to tackle the most impregnable part of Japanese defenses. Predictably, his Marines were decimated in ranks, and Chesty's approach, taking the position by frontal assault, failed in terms of situational awareness. Even Chesty could not accomplish the mission. Some of the survivors and other commentators blamed, even cursed Chesty for the losses. This tragedy could have broken Chesty, would have broken other leaders. However, not Chesty. He went on to gain further acclaim for his leadership in battle in Korea. Another time, another war. Today, he remains a Marine Corps legend. So, what does it take to earn becoming a successful leader from the front? For Chesty, that beginning was rather radical. He left VMI, from which he would have gained his commission to become an officer, instead opting to go to where the guns were by re-enlisting in the Marines and going to Haiti as a corporal to train the newly forming gendarmerie as part of U.S. occupation of that country to protect U.S. business and other interests from rebel forces within the country. Yes, he went to Haiti, where, as we know, even today, it is a difficult environment in which to operate. So imagine what it was like in 1919. Chesty spent 5 years in Haiti in that role, where NCOs were given provisional officer rank in pursuit of their mission. So, on to leadership from the front. From what I have read, here's what happened on one of Chesty's first encounters with rebels. He was already leading from the front, and as his supply train turned the corner, they sighted a rebel force. Chesty is reported to have responded by drawing his firearm and yelling, "Charge!" And to people like me, in amazement, his Haitian constabulary forces did just that, inflicting casualties and scattering the rebel forces. Later, he spent another tour in Nicaragua fighting the rebels, again leading local forces, winning 2 awards for his leadership in tough jungle situations. So what's so extraordinary about that? Chesty was a Virginian, a Southerner who, as a youth, listened to stories about Stonewall Jackson recounted by veterans of the Civil War. They were from the viewpoint of the Confederacy, and we know the racial environment of that time in the South: segregation, discrimination, even lynchings. It is easy to surmise and assume that Chesty was influenced, even jaded by his environment, and yet Chesty succeeded in gaining the trust of locals and successfully leading Haitian and Nicaraguan forces in the field between 1918 and 1936, interrupted only with intervening short tours in stateside duty. So the forces he led in both countries had to operate in remote areas, isolated, with monstrous hikes required through jungle terrain, working as a team, lives dependent on each other, and he mastered it. No question leading from the front, but learning to appreciate the knowledge base of his local forces, his own followers. This appreciation, he called it bonding, stayed with him during his entire career. Mission accomplishment became his mantra. Chesty's being an enlisted non-commissioned officer and his tours of duty in Haiti and Nicaragua provided him with an experience and a further appreciation of the knowledge base that resided in the enlisted ranks. His roots were there, and so when he led from the front, his Marines knew he understood. How? Well, apparently he liked to sit at campfires and, what we call in Hawaii, talk story about his experiences and exploits with his enlisted personnel. He carried his own gear throughout his career. He ate the same rations, and he ate last at meal. And he trained himself to the same level as his Marines. He used a calm voice to calm his troops. However, his voice boomed in battle as he skirted around his men's positions. His battlefield tactics were well practiced from experience. He visited his wounded, wrote letters, and showed true empathy for his Marines. And they loved all of this and would and did follow him to hell and back. And he was quick to acknowledge and celebrate his Marines' heroism, while he wanted to have those of his Marines in the brig back into his domain. And he communicated and promoted their needs to his higher-ups, which is one reason commentators believe his promotions took longer than they should. And, of course, he was well versed in his Marines' field language, and he used it, if you know what I mean. He not just earned leadership from the front, he practiced it successfully for 37 years, and his legend is as strong today as it was during his presence on the battlefields of the Pacific. So having said all of that, consider your profession, your career, and the following. What is leadership from the front in your profession and or career? What do you need to do to earn the right and in order to succeed in mission accomplishment by leading from the front? The logic behind leading from the front is compelling today. So many professions requiring teamwork are highly technical, requiring significant expertise. It's no longer the common laborer you will be leading. That is, just tell them what to do and they will do it. Every leader will be measured and quickly assessed by their workforce, by the team. Regardless, you will be expected to lead from the front. Failing to do so translate into wanting failure. Follow Chesty's advice. So mahalo for watching, and until next time, aloha and a hui ho.